Hey everybody, can everyone see my screen and hear my voice okay? If you can, type into your questions box so I know if you guys can hear me or not. Aaron, thank you for that. Hope everyone's well. Last week we had breakthrough cases of COVID in our family and fairly voracious coughing for 3 or 4 days. So trying to take it a little easy on the voice today. If you're having problems hearing me, I'm putting my lips right up to the microphone. So everybody here is in the clear. I hope you're healthy and well and doing fantastic. And I promise over the next 45 minutes or so, I think we're going to have a wonderful time together. We are a company that has spent the last 13 years developing predictive tools for traders in the futures, forex, cryptocurrency markets, and have developed quite a wonderful reputation, I think, with customers in each of those instrument classes, insofar as providing tools which alert traders as to the possibilities for movements in the future. And as far as I know, we're one of the very few, if only, companies that lets people know days in advance before the markets open what we're expecting to see occur in those markets after the fact. So on Tuesday afternoon, we send an email out to our prospects and let them know here's what we're going to be watching on Thursday. And we let all of Wednesday and all of Thursday pass. And we come back together 2 days later and look and see what actually took place. And so that's kind of what we're going to be taking part here today. And ultimately, we're asking the very simple question, is trading about the past or the future? Is trading about the past or the future? And we've found over the last 13 years, having interviewed about 1,000 customers a year, that most people are focused on the past. They're looking at things like divergence in volume and price actions, support and resistance levels, things that have already taken place. And we're of the mind that that can be useful sometimes. I don't want to disparage all the methods, but in our experience, if 90% of people are failing in trading and 90% of people are looking at those things, maybe there's a better way. Maybe there's something we can look at that's predictive as opposed to lagging. That's a future event as opposed to a historical or a past event. And so we like to think that the choice before us is one of future versus past. And so I want to maybe open your minds today to a few things that you weren't necessarily thinking about before you started. Many of you, before you found us, we have dozens of customers here today who've already purchased the software. Thank you for coming. And you've realized, if you've tried to trade for more than a few minutes, that it's hard, that it feels as though someone has their thumb on the scales. Someone's thumb, an institutional sized thumb, is on the scales. And trading doesn't seem as fair as other endeavors in life, businesses you've run or worked for or owned, jobs that you've held, vocations, professions, seemed easy. If you knew the rules, you knew what to do, and you could be successful. It seems like in trading that that's not, in fact, the case. And what we've done here is asked some pretty bold questions. We've asked some fairly bold questions that, quite honestly, make us look foolish to most people in this industry. We're not taken seriously. We're disparaged on forums and made fun of by people. And for the last 12, 13 years now, we've kept our eyes focused forward and worked on some techniques that I think are going to help you in the futures, forex, equities, and crypto markets. And so it's important when you're listening to me here today, wherever you are, whatever range of skills you have, however long you've been trading, I find that a bias can affect what I'm about to show you here today. And just because I share with you how something works, in a minute I'll show you something quite extraordinary. Hey Angela, the program works with NinjaTrader. NinjaTrader with our Mac users runs on PC emulator, and most of the customers that are running Mac are running a PC emulator with NinjaTrader running in the background. It is not web-based. Most web-based platforms couldn't handle the processing power required. And so when you install this on your computer, make sure you tell Rachel, our installer, that you're running a Mac. She actually will allocate in that emulator more processing power for that function to occur. It runs smooth, seamlessly, no issues. So that won't be a problem for you. Congrats on the Mac, by the way. My wife is Apple iOS, and we've managed to stay together now for over 30 years. So we can all, if Android and Apple are any indication, we can all get along. It's great to have you here, by the way. So I want to show you something, and this is a little off script, but I think it's important to frame what I'm going to show you regarding warp. Quite a long time ago, there was a guy named JP Morgan, and he had this belief that markets were influenced by predictable forces. And I want to show you some evidence for that before we drill down intraday to some pretty amazing tools. And this isn't the program that we're analyzing here today together. How many of you have heard of the cryptocurrency called Ethereum? Anyone? How many people here today have heard of the cryptocurrency Ethereum? It's getting quite the press. A lot of people talking about it, neighbors coming up to me and asking me questions about it. Yeah. And so when you look at that chart, Earl, it's hard to imagine there's anything that could predict when that market was going to go up or go down. And so what I'd like to do is show you something that speaks to how predictable, in fact, the market is. So let me come in here. I actually have a template that I've created for this. I was going over this with a customer earlier today, and I thought it was pretty cool. And let me come in here and show you real quick what we were able to uncover together. Let me see if I can get this to load up here for you. See what we get. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Can you guys see the signals on this chart? Angela, what would you say generally happens around the time of a green dot in the price of Ethereum? Or let me pose the question this way. If I said, Angela, I had a signal that was predictive, And you could know about it weeks before the signal gets there. 14 days before the signal arrives, you'll know the exact day that that signal was about to appear. How many of you looking at that chart would say to yourself, that's pretty good prospect right there? Anybody? As far as signals go. So Aaron, I'm saying, you see the upper right-hand corner of my screen? It tells me that in 11 days and 2 hours, the next green dot is coming. So assume that every one of these signals on the chart you've known about at least 11 days before it arrives, whether it's positive or negative, red or green. No. Now I'm going to show you something here that basically eliminates me from the equation. Meaning, a lot of times when you see something like this, you think, well, the guru comes in here and he alters the signals and the signals disappear and reappear. But I'm going to show you something, Aaron, about this market that has nothing to do with me. And once I show it to you, it's going to be veritably impossible to forget. And so when I asked you earlier the question, are markets predictable, right? Do institutional patterns appear in the data? Is trading about what happened in the past or what happened in the future? One of the very first people who tried to crack that nut was a guy named J.P. Morgan. You ever hear of him? Dead guy. He hasn't been around very long. And J.P. Morgan said something really weird. Millionaires don't use astrology, Aaron, Angela. Billionaires do. What? That's really weird what he just said. Did somebody check JP's temperature? Has he been hitting the bourbon? How is this guy in charge of anything? You're going to say something? I'm not going to say something. He's the boss. Well, here's what I want to show you. Are markets predictable? Or are we relegated to the slimy predictive indicators? Well, I don't actually need you to believe me about anything I'm about to show you, because nothing I'm showing you isn't anything you can't validate or verify yourself. Angela, everywhere you see a green dot on my chart is an actual 100% USDA grade A prime full moon. Now, you can log out of this webinar later today, and you can spend 15 minutes on Google. Then you can download every date that one of these things has happened for the last 12 months, right? February to February. And Angela, when you're done with that and satisfied that the dates I've provided signals for on this chart are in fact real, you could go back and download the dates of the new moons. And you begin to come to a conclusion that's uncomfortable. See, you can't talk about this at work because you sound crazy. You can't talk about this to people at church because it sounds like you're into astrology. And then you don't get access to the free cupcakes or muffins or coffee anymore. So, Brian, the one package of software, the alpha package, is based completely on lunar information, signals from sun spots and lunar phases and lunar apogees and perigees. But I wanted you to see that one of the most unpredictable markets, one of the most unpredictable markets in the universe, one of the newest instruments to modern finance, Angela, doesn't look very random, does it? It really becomes a question of when it goes, how far is it going to move? When it goes, how much money am I going to make? Well, there are two things that this chart provides to us, right? And it sounds crazy. It sounds like hocus pocus. But Angela, we know the date or the time in the future. And then we also know the vector or the direction. We know the date or the time in the future. And then we know the direction. And so when I come online and I type trading Ethereum, I don't see this mentioned anywhere. When I go through and I look through all the courses and I look through everything that's available, day trading Ethereum during this madness, Angela, it's madness. It seems like a lot of people are selling shovels and not a lot of people are making gold. So I want you to bear that in mind. There's a dimension of this that is predictable in two dimensions, in 2 degrees rather. The date and time in the future, as well as the direction. Now, if we come back and we apply this to a market like the S&P 500, I went back and I did a study. And I said, what if you bought a contract of the E-mini S&P at the close of every full moon date? And what if you sold it by the next new moon? It's about $60,000 in profit per contract. There were about 10 trades and 80% of the trades, 90% of the trades worked. In fact, if you look at the last 2 signals on the chart, remember where that big sell-off started happening a few days ago? Can you see where the signal is? It's weird, right? What's going on here? There's something very strange about the markets that are sort of inexplicable. Here's a weird chart. How many of you trade commodities like oil? Anybody? Anybody trade oil futures or gold futures or things of that nature? Well, one of the things we uncovered was that oil and gold futures were also predictable using some weird pieces of information. Brian, CL. So Angela, just like I asked you earlier, what happens when the green comes in? What happens when the red comes in? Well, we started to ask the question, if the moon was important, what about the distance of the moon to the Earth? And there's something known as apogee and perigee. When the moon is closest to the Earth and farthest away, do you know it revolves around us like an egg in an elliptical pattern? And a really weird thing starts to happen. When that energy source is closest to the population, they're most excited. And when the energy source drifts as far away as it can, people tend to pull out of the markets or slow down. And so this is another example of a predictable signal. And so, Angela, we have the same degrees of information. We have a date or a time in the future. And then, Brian, we have a direction. And again, you can log out of the webinar and you can look these dates up for yourself. And all of these things tend to influence, right? Influence the price of oil. And you can see here that when we arrive at those moments in time, what tends to happen? Well, people predictably do something influenced by an external power source of sorts, right? And you can see just out of nowhere, Aaron, look, there's 3 candles in a row. Doji, a black candle. And on the day of the perigee event, what happens? For a time, it goes up. And then where's the largest black candle appear but just to the right of the apogee event? So without digging down into the science, my background is mechanical engineer. I have an engineering degree from the University of Stony Brook in Long Island on New York. I've designed and built machinery for industrial applications all over the world. I'm a co-developer on 6 US patents. I have a brain that asks, what the hell is going on here? Right? What is it about this? And we developed a tool, Brian, that's actually related to sunspot cycles. The number of spots on the surface of the sun as it relates to markets like the S&P and the Dow and crypto and Euro US dollar. And the same patterns, the same cycles exist. And they're predictive, always to the right, always with the information. Up, down, date 1, date 2. So when we come back full circle and we ask this question, how predictable are the markets that you trade? We're sort of in waters that were uncharted a moment ago. When I asked that question, is trading about the past or the future? Are markets predictable in any way, shape, or form, or are we relegated to the slimy depths of gurus who rip us off and sell crappy tools and indicators? They never answer the phone. They charge thousands of dollars for something that works for a week and then disappears. Or is there a better solution? Is there a better solution? Let me talk to you a little bit about the program that we're all here to learn a little bit more about. This program is called Tacheon Warp. It represents our life's work, everything that we've been developing for the past 13 years. And it's not based on lunar cycles, but it is based on time. And so I want to walk you through a couple predictions in some markets that you may be following, or you know people at home are trading. And I want to tell you exactly how it works so that Angela, your friend who told you that you should work with us, Aaron, I want you to understand what we're doing so that this program doesn't catch you off guard. Let's put it that way. I want you to feel like, as crazy as what I just showed you was, you have an understanding of how what I'm about to show you works. It's predictive, but it's based on something you may or may not, hopefully will understand. This is the E-mini S&P on a daily chart. And what you'll see is that the chart is divided into two sections, really. The histograms on the bottom and the price bars with the dots on the top. And so, Angela, when you're using the software on the lower right corner of the screen, you're going to see those upcoming dates and times to the right of the current price bar. And so you can see everywhere there's a blue line, Thursday the 6th, Tuesday the 25th. That's an indication of selling pressure in the future. Selling pressure in the future. And everywhere you see a white line, Monday the 10th, February the 9th, are dates in the future that we're expecting buying pressure. So, Aaron, one of the first things that's different about our company is the fact that we're giving the information in the future. It's not a lagging indicator. It's not a lagging tool. No one's ever seen it because it's weird. It's weird. Now, I've been called every name you can think of in every forum that's available for traders. Now, when I was a kid, it was hard enough. Here's my name. And Aaron, I want you to let your imagination run wild. When someone writes about me and my company in the forex Peace Army or Futures IO, it's wonderful. I kind of hope my kids find these quote unquote reviews by people who've never used the software. And we give people the information in advance. Now, I don't expect you to believe what you see here because it's a daily chart, and unless you attended the last few webinars, you wouldn't believe me when I say that, Aaron, we've been projecting these dates in the future for months. We always go over this chart, and where you see a signal is somewhere that we said something was going to happen. So the last up move is not based on a lunar phase. It was predicted on December 17th, and we knew that it would last into the 27th. And that would be the last surge. The next surge that was coming was on the 31st into the end of the year. Okay, the next date of sell-off is on the 6th. The sell-off's not over. And the first hope of recovery is on the 10th. Now, what is this based on? It's based on the algorithm that we developed years and years ago for traders that works intraday, meaning you can look at this on a 30-second chart all the way out to a daily and a weekly chart for any instrument. So you can look at, and we'll look at a bunch of them here together, cryptos, currency pairs, futures, indices, spider, Qs, ETFs, doesn't matter. And the software is based on a premise that there are institutional recurring patterns in the data. So no, it's not over, Angela. It's not over. But we can look at it in more detail. These are institutionally recurring patterns. The software goes back historically and looks for things that people don't necessarily notice. One of the charts that we've been watching is the Euro US dollar. And we've been keeping track, Angela, of when banks are likely to sell and when they're likely to buy. And the 6th, today, is the end of that last run. Yeah, it's been going sideways for sure. But Aaron, if I delete all of the scribbles and crazy maniac drawings that I put on here, everywhere you see a blue dot on the chart up top is somewhere the software predicted a sell-off. And everywhere you see a white dot is somewhere the software alerted us to an institutionally recurring pattern, a predictive pattern that has 2 dimensions. No, it's not tied to economic events. It's tied to the fact that you're getting screwed every day you sit down and believe that the market is what you believe it to be. Let me expand on that. Most of the customers that I meet fall into one or two categories. Category one, markets are fair, based on value and reports and stuff that happens in the real world. Do you believe that? Here's what we believe, and what most of our customers have come to understand. Markets are the playgrounds of institutions who pay billions in fines each year and manipulate markets for profit. Reports don't matter. FOMC didn't matter. Now, how do I prove that? How do I prove that to you? Number one, I hopefully have a little bit of credibility at this point. Our philosophy is simple when it comes to actual executions. Trade with the trend. So Aaron, that means on the 22nd of June, we sell. We sell on the 22nd and we cover on the 20th. When we get to the 2nd, we sell and we cover completely by the 26th. When we arrive at the 6th, we sell and we cover by the 23rd. This is a very big trade. It was 1 day long for a total of 30 pips. This is a loss because when we finished, Aaron, by the end, we were higher as opposed to lower. And now from the 12th unto the 6th, we were selling. And Angela, you'll see of all of the available ticks, 255, we took 152 out of that move. And so, Aaron, every one of these signals represents a window of time where someone who has never and will never have your best interests in heart is waking up and screwing you, taking your money and putting it in their Lexus fund. So on Christmas, when that commercial appears, na, 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 and the guy's wife runs over to the window and she sees the big red bow. You know who paid for that, Angela? Aaron did. Aaron paid for that big red bow. Now, I don't mean to pick on you. It's just you're here and you guys are watching what's going on. What I do every week is I send out a web page, and the web page has the forecasts. Angela, has the forecasts available for Wednesday and Thursday. Aaron, we've been in business since 2009. 2009. And so we had the times in advance, Angela, for the euro dollar. When you click on the chart that I sent out in the marketing emails, Aaron, can you see how we had the times in advance? Well, look at what's on my screen for the euro dollar 2 days later. This is after the FOMC report, right? And I want to direct your attention to the times that are on my screen. So Angela, how can I send these times out 2 days in advance? And Aaron, how can we see the moves we're seeing if what I'm saying isn't true? Let's look at another example. For example, we'll take a look at, somebody asked me about gold earlier today. Let's take a look at gold on a 5-minute chart. Thought we had it here. Yeah, I'll do it on this one. GC0222. So gold yesterday and today. Angela, this is different. This is completely different. Let me type something here to you. Let me know if you see that. You're welcome. But I want to prove to you that what I'm telling you is true. So if we come back in Angela, we look at the signals for gold yesterday. That was FOMC, right, Aaron? Pretty big day. A lot of news. I want you to look at the times with me. 305, 305, 315, 315, 355, 355, 450, 450. Angela, is it safe to say that the times I sent out to about 30,000 prospects match up with what's on the screen behind this chart? I'm not changing them. I'm not altering them. I'm not using any kind of fancy marketing hocus pocus. Okay. So now, if you'll indulge me, I know this part is excruciating for some of our customers. All I'm going to do is put an arrow at the times, Angela, the software predicted something that happened. When there's a pivot, I'll put it there. When there's no pivot, we'll put an X, right? 8:30. That's the open, right? There's a report yesterday. And then Aaron, the whole thing kind of peters out and slows down right here at 9:10. 10 o'clock, Angela didn't do so good. 10:55, we sell off and kind of go slow and into lunchtime, and then the market's kind of. And then Aaron, when's the report come out? 2 o'clock, right? Our signal on Tuesday or Wednesday was selling pressure from 220 into 3:30 into 4 o'clock into 8 o'clock. So Brian, in this case, in this example, right, as we go back, I want you to see it's not limited to one day. This stuff happens over and over and over again, right? Signal after signal, day after day. These are based on a very narrow rolling window of time. The setting that I'm using here is looking at a week ago and 2 weeks ago. So when we looked at the signals for Wednesday of this week, it was looking at the prior Wednesday and the Wednesday before that. So Brian, what market's your favorite market to trade? I'll show you something really cool. Very similar to seasonality, but different in some pretty fundamental ways. NQES, perfect. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to load the NQ. And Brian, I'm going to show you the most basic setting we can deploy on a chart like this. I'm going to tell it to go back one trading day historically. So the signals on this chart for the NQ today are based on what the NQ did yesterday. Yes, it will, Angela. We've actually optimized the memory of this to make sure that it runs very, very well. So you could run it on your parallels easily enough, but if you put it on that, I have a 7-year-old Chromebook that I run Warp on, and it works fine. Anything that's 3 years old or less. So Brian rather, this is a 1-day look back. It's not the best for the NQ, but it's the easiest one to demonstrate. What if we look at the last 3 trading days of the NQ? 1 day ago, 2 days ago, 3 days ago. Now we start to see some resolution. Today was a pretty crappy day. But if we come back and look at yesterday, we get some pretty good signals. Right, so there's 2 things that the software allows us to analyze. Number 1 is where we look for signals. And number 2, Brian, is the size of the data or the size of the moves. So as I increase that swing strength, there are fewer and fewer signals. But Brian, the moves in between them are larger. So right now on this chart, instead of looking back last week and the week before, I'm looking at 1, 2, and 3 days ago in a lump. I'm asking the computer what times were important then. And then I'm telling the computer, I only want to see something that has a swing strength of 8, meaning 8 bars on either side of the moves historically. It's a volume knob. So Angela, if I want to increase the size of the moves that I'm looking for, say you're a big baller like Brian, I can double the size of the swing. And now the moves in between the signals, Brian, are twice as large. Right? If I come forward and I look at today, the moves at these times are larger. If I make it smaller, now I'm scalping. Can you get ridiculous with this? You can absolutely get ridiculous with this. You can go out to a swing strength of 30, and it starts to get a little weird. The S&P is a different monster altogether. And I'd be lying if I told you that it wasn't difficult to figure out some of the things that I've got here. So Brian, here's that same chart. And what's fascinating about the ES is it doesn't follow a 3-day cycle. It actually follows a 9-day cycle. That number is pretty important in time analyses and calculations associated with those things. And so if we look at a 9-day cycle, Brian, you'll start to notice as we go back where those signals are coming in and going out. So if you're using the ES signals with Warp, I would encourage you, instead of using 714, to use a 9-day look back. Yeah, so every market has a tuning. Thank you, Ian. So the most popular and most accurate settings, just so you know them up front, a lot of vendors hold their secrets close to the vest, right? There are 5 different settings that I look at. The 714 is the default that comes with the software. The 1, 2, 3. Then you have a 3000, which is a 3-day cycle. Then you have a 9-day cycle. If you wanted to get really fancy, there's a 369 cycle that I use very rarely. 1, 2, 3 works very well with the NQ. The 9 works extremely well with the ES. 714 works well with everything. If you're a forex trader, that one in particular has some good settings. And so as we go back with a 9-day cycle, you see that the ES kind of has these really cool moments where almost every high and low is getting called out and picked on. So, so there's that. If we look at other commodities like CL, for example, Brian, you'll see that using the times we sent out 2 days ago, right? I really wanted you to see this because I think it's pretty cool. When we arrive at the times that the software warned us about, and we in particular pay the most attention to the signals in the direction of the trend, we again have to address the elephant in the room, right? Is he lying to me, right? This is what I used to ask myself in webinars. Did he change the signals to make them look good, right? Because software today, they have signals that disappear and reappear, repaint, move all over the place. And so to circumvent that, are there shenanigans? Thank you, Earl. I am an Eagle Scout. On my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country, to obey the Scout law, to help other people at all times, to keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight. A Scout is trustworthy, honest, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. It's important to me that you believe me. And so what we do to circumvent those doubts, again, is we provide those times in the future and allow people the opportunity to track them. And so if we come here today and we scroll down and we look at Thursday's signals, Brian, there's no secrets here. We're all friends, right? And so I have the chart to go back and reference, and we go back and reference and see what happened at those times. Angela, something emerges from the ether. Something starts to emerge from the ether as these moves out of nowhere reverse and pivot and profit. And so we can look at what happens if we get in and get out in the direction of the trend, get in and get out in the direction of the trend, get in and get out in the direction of the trend, get in and get out in the direction of the trend. And what you start to see here, guys, is that these little windows of time open up. And we know when the banks are about to, here's a stop out, are about to open the vault and stick their smelly fingers into the vault. And when they open the vault, Angela, we stick our sticky fingers in the crack. Hey, Higashi, what are you doing? Helping myself to some of these shekels. Who told you there'd be shekels? My software. What, are you using the Warp program, that Warp thing with the crazy guy? Don't you worry about it. Well, you better get out of here. We're going to close the door soon. You're not closing the door for 14 more minutes. Cut it out. Cut it out. Angela, does it work on stocks? Oof. Yeah, it works on stocks. We've been tracking Ford since a couple months ago. And we had a buy signal on Ford on the 7th of October. We had another one on the close of the 3rd of December. That signal finished $2.75. When it pierces the blue line, Brian, that's a breakout trade. So when it pierced here, Angela, our stop, if you're using calls and puts and stuff, our stop would be below that puncture candle, and we would have been long at $22. So we're long from the blue line right here on Ford. Tesla is a pain in the ass. I used to be a big Tesla fan. I was one of the largest fanboys. I'm an engineer, right? Yeah, we can look at Tesla, sure, I don't care. And so, Angela, we've been looking at this every week. I have the recordings for the webinars for the last 6 months. We can go back and look and see. And these are the drawings. I like to watch it. I like to watch it because he's a shyster, that guy. Musk is the ultimate market manipulator. And what I've done here is I've been tracking how many dollars the price moves in the direction of the trend when we get a signal. So starting back in July on the 29th, August on the 20th, October on the 8th, October on the 26th, November on the 19th, and then December 10th. We've been tracking what would happen if we bought and sold when the software was warning us to buy and sell. Thomas, that's exactly right. And that's my theory as well. We need him to take astronauts to space and not pay Russia $80 million per person, and to bring the satellites that look up the nostrils of people in Kazakhstan to orbit. That's why he's not in jail, and the SEC hasn't fined him millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. There's a phone call, and the guy goes, "Sir, but sir, he tweeted that the stock price was too high, and it fell $35. We raced about $18 billion. But sir, I understand. But sir, but yes, sir. No, I like my job. I like it a lot. The kids are great. Yes, Judy's in college now. It is an expensive school. You're sorry, just forget everything I said about that thing. We're just we're gonna drop the whole matter. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you. Angela, that's the current candle. The current bar is red. The current bar is red. So we can look at Tesla on a daily chart, or we can drill down to an intraday. This is Ethereum on a daily chart too, by the way. But let's say for a second we want to drill down to a lower time frame. You're looking for more precise entries, right? We can come here and we can apply those same signals. Here we'll go down to a 90 days with a 5-minute chart, right? We can get those same kinds of intraday signals. Now Tesla intraday isn't a 714 signal. It's a 369. And I'll help you set this up when you get the software. So Angela, you see how that changed when I got in there and started putting the right numbers in? You bought more ETH today and BTC. Did you do okay? I don't know. Did you do okay? See, there's a point in the webinar, Angela, where I want you to sit there and go, she gave me a good recommendation. The guy sounds like he's smart. I don't think I'm going to get hosed here. I want you to have just enough information where you go, what's that internet meme? This guy. This is what I want you to feel like. Do you feel like that yet? I want you to feel like that. Yeah, I believe in keeping shit simple too. And that's one of the reasons why we were getting into crypto and kind of spanning all these different markets, right? I want you to feel comfortable. So let me come in here, load this template. Most gurus try to sort of hold their hold their secrets close to the vest, and you buy the one program and then you get an email and you say, Angela, for just $30,000 more, I'll share all of my secrets with you. All of them. You'll have the keys to the kingdom. Come to my house and I'll serve you watercress sandwiches and you can watch me trade. So Ethereum obviously went into a tight range today, but these were the times that I put out a couple of days ago for Ethereum, and I want you to see kind of that same thing as we look intraday on a 5-minute chart, right? The trend has been down most of the time, so none of these buy signals, unless you're trying to pick bottoms, these would have been good times to purchase today. But as you get higher and higher in the time frame, you start looking at the 10-minute and the 15-minute. I'm not sure what size bars you're watching, but today the signals on the 10-minute, for example, were long at 9:40 to 11:50, long from 1:10 until 2:50. Yeah, I love this stuff. If you guys haven't figured that out yet. I don't use volume, Brian, for the fact that remember a few years ago when they allowed institutions to hide the large, they could break up their large orders into lots of small packets. They did some stuff with volume that made it easy for institutions to hide their intentions. And then JP Morgan, in particular, Deutsche Bank, they're constantly in trouble for spoofing, which is essentially showing volume that's not really there. And time for me has been the ultimate open. I trade SPY on the open. Would there be time in the first 5 to 10 minutes after the open? LB, what size bars do you look at for SPY? Let's figure it out. No, they're not crooks. They're predators. Crooks are different. Predator is a better word to describe them. But they run the game. 1 minute and 30-second bars. We can use range bars too, by the way. This works with range bars, volume bars, tick bars, wrinkle bars. It's totally able to work with each of those. So let's take a look here. Yeah, I'm an engineer. We build good shit. We build good stuff. Okay, so JB, here are the signals, the live signals for SPY. You said first 5 to 10 minutes after the open. Okay, so Brian, just so you see, there are no shenanigans today, right? The same default values. The 714, right? Remember when you heard me mention that before? So you know I'm not using special pull it out of my sleeve, out of my butt on the fly settings. These are the default values, swing strength of 8, 714. The signals today at the open in that window of time that you're looking at. There's the signal from the close yesterday, the last signal before the close, and then LB, here's the signal. So you had a window of time to short between 9:38 and 9:49. That was your window. The minute you saw that white dot violated, it's a signal to sell. We call that a puncture trade. It tells me that the banks who normally buy here are not buying. And so we're all clear to hold it until the next signal, which would have been 10 o'clock if you were hanging around that long. If you really wanted to get funky, we could go down to a 30-second chart. Depending on how, again, how large of a move you're looking for, you could increase the swing strength, and you would have seen that we had until 9:56 at the earliest to get out if you wanted to. or you could reverse that. If you're looking at a 30-second chart, I suspect you could have, let's see if I can actually punch that up for you. You could have used a smaller swing strength. So I'm going to go here to second 30, load 30 days of second 30-second bars. It's going to hurt the CPU here for a second, so we're going to give a second to cook. Yeah, no, there's people doing that with the software. LB, you'd be in good company. You're in good shape. And we could dial this in on the lower time frame. We could tune it for what you're looking for. So while that's loading up, it's going to take a second. We're coming around the horn here. Angela, Brian, I want to LB give you guys a chance or an understanding. As soon as that chart comes up, we'll take a look at it. So we'll keep that in the background, right? We'll see when that data loads. 30 days of 30-second bars. There is no VWAP. That is a 120 period exponential moving average. 120 Echo Michael Alpha EMA. It's just kind of the house average that we use week to week to demonstrate trend signals. A couple customers here use the VWAP and have some pretty good success with the signals at standard deviations. So Angela, they'll trade buying signals at the second standard deviation or selling signals at the second standard deviation when those things line up. So lots of ways. Yeah. As a matter of fact, the very first customers who bought the software traded with Bollinger Bands. So Angela, the very first setup that we taught looked like this. You had a Bollinger Band. It was predominantly used by forex traders on 15-minute charts. So Angela, you'd have a signal like this, right? There's a blue dot. And what the customers would do is they would down below have a MACD. And the signal was like this. If they had divergence on the MACD and they had a puncture on the upper Bollinger Band, right? When you start trading counter trend, you need to use more confirmation tools to verify that it's happening. Then Angela, they would trade to the middle band and the lower band with 2 lots. Yeah, we can take a look at it. No problem. That's a pretty good question. So JB, LB, can you see how this looks on a 30-second chart? Just so you know, I'm not jerking your gherkin. Yeah, no, I understand. That would be a good concern, but it's sort of like the cost of doing business, I guess. We used to use TradeStation exclusively when we started trading, my partner and I, and then as our needs changed and we wanted to do different stuff, we did that way too. So this NinjaTrader has data ports for interactive brokers. It has ports for eSignal. Well, here we can take a look. Unfortunately, TradeStation isn't one of them. Interactive brokers, eSignal, CQG, Continuum, Coinbase, Barchart.com, Rhythmic, TD Ameritrade. These are all places that you can port data in from. Otherwise, you can, LB, you can use NinjaTrader for charting. You don't have to buy it or have an account with them. And there's a company called Kinetic that supplies real-time live data. That's what I'm using right now. And I think it's, I forget how much per month. I want to say it's like $50 to $80 a month. Yeah, there we go. $69 a month, and you get the data to see the signals. So ES or S&P equivalent, that would be with $70. That's a 1.5 a month. I think we can make you 1.5 points a month. Yeah, and when you get the software, we can help you set all that up. It's not that scary. The customer service there is pretty reliable. And we'll come here, and Angela, I'm going to add that Bollinger Band we were talking about. You can put any kind of supplemental tool on there that you want. Bollinger, 2 standard deviations. And I'm going to load the MACD too to replicate that setup we were talking about a moment ago. So yeah, we didn't have divergence at that signal, but you can sort of see what I was alluding to. Angela, when you get a signal like this one that touches the upper band, you short it until the bottom band right here. I tend to tell people to look for divergence. Let me see if I can find an example of that. I don't see one here. Been a while since I looked at divergence. This would be an example of it right here. So Angela, can you see when we got to 11:13 on LB's 30-second candle, we're climbing and we're climbing and we're climbing. There's a high here, and then there's a high there. I would have wanted that to appear near the signal. I'm always looking for divergence at the highs. These are sweet signals, LB. On the 30-second, they're better than the 1 minute. There's something going on there on the 30-second. Good kudos to you for picking that up. But seeing what I'm seeing here, I'd be scared to trade without the software. Now, yeah, the divergence isn't really picking up the signals. So what I'll do is I'll just shrink it down. But Angela, you would be looking for that right here. You see how the signal's at the upper band? Right here where it's touching the band. The white signals at the bottom bands, like right here and right here. Yeah, it's a pretty basic system if you were looking at that. Good question, by the way. Thank you, LB. Yeah, Don, there was one. We had it for Ninja 7, but we just don't use it anymore. So who's ready to shut up and give me their money? Our company, again, has been around for 13 years. We have thousands of customers all over the world. And the program that we're talking to you about today is our flagship product. It's called Tacheon Warp. This is the one by far that most people trade. Brian, I want to type something to you too. Tell me that you got that signal. And then LB, I'm going to type something to you too. Today I'm feeling generous. So LB, Angela, Brian, I just sent you guys all notes. There you go. Did you get that, Angela? Yeah. So the Warp tool here is our flagship product. It's the one that everybody starts out with. It's pretty awesome. It's our most comprehensive tool. It works with crypto, equities, forex, futures, indices, ETFs. And I'm going to put the link to your GoToWebinar chat box. There's a promo code available today that I need to give you, so hang out one more minute so I can get it to you. Big orange buy now sticker right there. When you click on it, there's this annoying window that pops up. We have a class that meets Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday from 8 o'clock to 12 o'clock. It's run by my partner and best friend, Ron Gardner. And Ron actually shows entries in the markets that he's demonstrating and tells people, here's where I'm getting in, here's where I'm getting out, based on the setups that we teach for the signals. So if you don't have a trading system that you like, or you like having someone to sit there and talk about the news and what we're seeing and how the markets are moving, he actually gave me his results for the last calendar year, January to January. So this is tracking the signals and executions that he shows in this class that I'm showing you here 3 days a week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 8 to 12 Eastern time, basically the morning session. If that's something that's important to you and you want to have somebody to kind of hold your hand and show you the setups, that's available today. It's an additional $149 a month. So that would have cost, what is that, $1,500, say almost $2,000, give or take, by the end of the year. And there was a nearly $60,000 gain in the hypothetical account. So if that's something you like, we offer that service. If you don't need it, go to the checkout without the pro training room. There's a purchase agreement here. It basically says that we promise to take care of you. If you promise not to be a weirdo, don't be abusive. Don't try to steal the code. Please have a computer that was produced in the last 10 years. All those things are going to help us to take care of you and maintain the product. Over here, you're going to see a place to put a promo code. WARPOFF. 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 LB, Brian, Angela, and my buddy from up top, Aaron. You got that special offer. This works on NinjaTrader. You're going to get 2 lifetime licenses, free updates for life, free installation. So someone like LB that needs help getting NinjaTrader loaded and getting the data feed set up, we'll do all that for you. It's a white glove installation service. Can take as little as a few minutes or as long as an hour, depending on how slow you want us to go. We'll train you how to use Ninja, get you set up, Angela, with Parallels or whatever you're using for an emulator in the short term while you get your Chromebook. You're also going to get free training. Generally lasts 60 to 90 minutes. And that's going to be live. We'll record the whole session and set up all of your charts with the optimal settings for the markets that you're trading. So if you want to use a 5 range bar, that'll be with your SPY trades in the morning, piece of cake. Angela, you want to use or Brian, you want to use a 500 volume bar on the ES. We'll set you up with the right settings for that. No need for you to bust your head trying to figure that stuff out. We want to get you to the starting line and get you in front of some good trades as fast as we can. There's also a video archive, so you can kind of learn at your own pace if you like to go back after the markets are closed or on the weekends. That video archive is also for free. In addition to that, there's a promo code. Promo code again is WARPOFF, and that takes $500 off of the price. You can basically, LB, I paid for your a year's worth of your data feed for NinjaTrader by giving you that discount. That's one way I like to look at it. I'm going to buy a cushion for this chair because my butt bone hurts. There's a visual. In addition to that, there is something you should know. We have a review service. We pay a lot of money every year to Trustpilot, and they make sure that the people who leave reviews are actual customers. So we can't leave a fake review. They make sure that people who are here are actually people who bought the customer who bought the software based on the presentation you saw here today. We have a 4.8 out of 5 across the 65, 70 people who've left reviews here so far. If that's something that you're interested in reading, I've also pasted that link into your chat box as well. And most of the people that are here are like you. They don't really leave reviews. And this will give you a sense of what the average everyday Joe or Josephine thinks about our software. Pete wasn't a customer. He actually came to a webinar and he concluded everything about their approach shows they have nothing to hide. So Pete, we miss you, brother. I wanted you to be a customer, but a lot like our buddy, who's here today, Chris Francone. A lot of people come to the webinar each week and they never purchase, which is kind of a mystery to me. So there's that. If you're wanting to know, if you are a customer and you have the software, do me a favor, leave us a review at that link that I pasted in the chat box. Good, bad, or indifferent. It helps other people know what your experiences are. So just go ahead and log into that. Again, they're going to validate that you're a customer and you can let people know how you're doing. 2 lifetime licenses, free updates for life on the software, NinjaTrader. 8 free installation. We'll get it all set up and started for you with the best settings and optimal parameters for the markets you trade. Free training, takes about an hour and a half. We'll record the whole session for you so you have it. Lifetime video archive, demonstration videos, how to set it up, how to work with the code. And woo, $500 off. Thomas, thank you for that. Thank you, Jan. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Angela. Thank you, LB. Thank you, Aaron. For all of you, it is truly an honor and a privilege to spend this time with you. And I hope by now you've seen that we do, in fact, know what we're talking about, that there is a dimension of trading, in particular time, a time in the future and a direction in the future that's available to you. This technique has been in use by financiers as far back as 125 years. I believe institutions leverage these times to screw people. Much like a casino, where 5% of people walk out with more money than they came in and everyone else gets a free ticket to see Celine Dion. If you want to play this game and play it to the best of your ability, to know that you did everything you absolutely could to make the money you say you want to make, you have to play by their rules. And you win battles by knowing their timing. Right now, you're sort of Ray Charles in a crystal factory. My dad said once, I could leave a glass of water in the middle of a football field and you'd knock it over. He had a wonderful way of encouraging me, looking back. But it's true with regards to trading. Most of the traders that I've met will find the one way to screw up the setup because the markets are rigged and you never really had a chance. If you really want to take it to the next level, if you really want to go to bed tomorrow and Monday next week and Tuesday next week knowing I brought my entire game, I brought the most powerful tool I could bring to the battle, now's your chance. May the wind be at your back. May the sun shine upon your faces. May the valleys rise up to meet you along your journey. May the mountains lay low before you as you go. I wish you, most importantly this week, health. I wish you health. There were a few times last week where I wasn't sure how things were going to go, and I was nowhere near a hospital with 2 vaccines in me. I wasn't sure. I wish health for you. I wish you the prosperity that you're moving forward towards. Some of you trading better than others. We are an asset, we're a tool, we're a team. We'd love to work with you. I wish you peace and love and happiness in this year. May we look back New Year's Eve next year and feel differently than we felt this year. That's my hope and wish for everyone here today. I appreciate all of you. Thank you. Have a wonderful night. Now, do me a favor. There's somebody that I work with here very closely. His name is Brian Cusimano. Brian is a customer. And he uses the software to take trades and make money. You may get an email from him. You may get a phone call from him. If you would like to reach out to him and ask questions, hey, you went through this rigmarole. Are these guys for real? What are you trading? What are you doing? Brian has used Warp to qualify for 4 combines with Top Step Trader, with UProfit, with Earn to Trade, and Lilu, I think, is the other one. That's somebody that you want in your corner, who can speak intelligently about the software and answer questions that you might have. We're the founders, the developers, the engineers, right? We have a pretty grandiose perspective of ourselves. And Brian, he's a little guy, just like you. He's one of the little guys. Actually quite a giant in my eyes. If that's a resource you'd like available, Brian works with people one-on-one to teach them what he knows and help them get set up with stuff. If you'd like that available to you when you get started, LB, Angela, Aaron, Brian, he's available to work with you. So reach out to him if you have questions. Brian, you want to give me your phone number in case somebody wants to call you after the webinar? 1-800-HOT-PANTS. No, that's not it. 802-427-4123. So if you want to talk to someone who sat where you sat and put their money where their mouth was and went through the gauntlet, Brian's an excellent resource. Pro staffer here, willing to work with everybody here. Everyone have a great night. We'll try to get a copy of this recording out here in a couple hours. If you specifically want it, you can email Brian and he'll get you a copy. But honestly, guys, ladies, thank you. It's been an honor. When you wake up tomorrow morning and you sit down and trade and you don't have this tool and they slap you in the face with the stops and you miss out on the big runs, I want you to know you had a chance. You have a chance to see what they see and know what they know. The choice is yours. Have a great night, everyone. Take care. God bless, and we'll see you soon.